Hi, everybody. I'm Branden Sewell. I'm the owner of Seal Pro Painting located in Central Florida. I'm also the host of the Off the Ladder podcast, and we exist to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately live life off the ladder. So some of you who regularly tune into the Off the Ladder podcast, you may have noticed that I haven't uploaded an episode recently. I've kind of made it a pattern to take some time off from the podcast. So last year, I took a month off. And this year, I took the month of May off. And there's kind of a couple reasons for that. It's just a lot to do the podcast. And I had a lot of traveling I was doing in May, a lot of stuff going on. And so it was just super busy and I needed to take some time off. So I'm excited to get back into weekly episodes. With the last break that I took, once I started back, I made that season 2 of the Off the Ladder podcast, and this is effectively going to be season 3. Um, so there's no real particular topic for this episode, but I want to say welcome back to my listeners and those who loyally tune in to the Off the Ladder podcast. One thing that I do want to talk about today is it really has to do with I don't necessarily want to categorize it as mental health, but maybe just like mental toughness as entrepreneurs. And a lesson that I've had to learn over time. And so that topic is going over how, just when you start a business, it can be emotional because you invest a lot of time, a lot of energy. You make a lot of sacrifices to start a business and to ultimately keep it going. And that's an emotional process. What I've had to learn in my journey and just through maturation and learning hard lessons is that you a lot of times have to take the emotion out of the business. And that can be very difficult. However, if you're driven solely by your emotion with the business, it can cause you to make decisions that aren't ultimately going to serve you and your business and your customers best. And so oftentimes, I've just made it a discipline for myself that in moments or situations that arise in my business where it's difficult, I've made a concerted effort to stop, to pause, let the emotion pass, and then use wisdom to make decisions. And that can be very difficult because even like the way that you're feeling, the way that a situation or a circumstance makes you feel can lead you to think that a decision that you're going to make in the moment is going to be the best one. And oftentimes, that decision that you want to make in that moment is not really taking into consideration a big picture. It's taking in consideration the pain or the momentary suffering that you feel as an entrepreneur in that moment. And you have to be able to say, okay, this is painful right now. This is hard. I want to make this decision right now to alleviate the pain of the situation or the difficulty. However, taking that time to pause gives you the ability to process fully through what's happening and think of the reality. Because sometimes what I found is I'll start to tell myself um, lies of like what I'm going through in the moment which is not connected to the reality of what really happens day to day in my business. For example, I might have a week where we're down in sales, and I think, okay, no, this is the end of it. My business is going to fail, and this is it. But then what I have to do is I have to pause and I have to think back. I have to say to myself, okay, no, you've been in business for 8 years, 8 years in August, and you have been able to overcome challenges in the past, and you can do it again. And historically, I have had downtimes. I've had seasons where we're up here, and seasons where we're down low, and that's just the reality of business. It's the reality of life. There's just these cycles that we go through. But I can look at historical data. I can look at the historical trends, and I can from that I can then say, okay, yes, this is painful right now. Yes, this is difficult. How did I respond back then? And how did that response or decisions that I made in that time affect me long term? And what decisions do I need to make now that are going to better serve me long term? And the only way that I was able to really get to that point is going through it. And so, really, my encouragement is to try and, for those of you who maybe, you're young in your business, and maybe you're facing some of your first challenges, and maybe it feels massive and it feels huge and it feels bigger than you, and you don't know what to do, and you feel like this is the end, this is where it all fails and falls apart. Maybe you're in a situation right now where you've been in business for a while, and you're just in one of those seasons, and you just need some encouragement. So here's my encouragement, is just keep in it and go day by day. Like, right now, truthfully, I'm in a difficult season in the past like couple weeks, because of mistakes that were made earlier on this year with jobs, like things we didn't foresee that caused jobs to take longer, or unforeseen expenses, equipment breaking down, and all of that stuff. It's just adds up, and then you find yourself a few months down the road, and it catches up, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. And so in those moments, it can be hard not to let the emotion of that challenge take hold of you. Now, I'm going to throw this out there and say that another part of this is that I am a person of faith, and I rely heavily on my relationship with Jesus to get me through seasons that are difficult. And in the moments where I feel anxious, or I feel worried, or I don't really know what to do. I feel like I don't have control of what's happening in my business, and I'm praying and asking God to show up on my behalf, to give me wisdom of how to handle situations. And what I've learned to do is I've got to just let go. Okay. There's going to be situations that arise in business that are going to be, beyond my control. I may not see that, like, yes, today it's challenging and finances are challenging, but I may not see that a few days from now we're going to land a big job, or get a large sum of money that comes in. And so I've had to learn that, okay, yes, it's challenging right now, but historically, we've been in business for going on 8 years. The business is going to keep coming in. And I have to believe that in faith, of course, because I guess nothing is guaranteed. But I look back and I see the faithfulness of God to provide in my business. I see the the faithfulness of him to show up when I don't know what to do. And he gives me wisdom and he shows me how to ultimately walk through those challenges. And so, my encouragement to you, if you're going through a challenge, or if you're young in business and you're facing challenges, which is normal, is to learn how to let go. Don't let the anxiety, the worry, and the fear grip you or consume you or cause you to don't let it drive your decisions. Because I've done that too. I've let the anxiety, the fear, the, whatever, drive some of my decisions. And, I suffered the consequences of those over time. And so just learn how to detach from the emotion of it, and really look at like the reality. And then I'm going to go to another side of this is, if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to just put your head down and get to work. So it's like, yes, you let go of control, in a sense of like, you let go of feeling like you're the one who's going to determine the outcome. So it's like you put in the work and then you leave the outcome up to God. You say, you know what? I'm going to do what I know to do. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to put my head down and I'm just going to get after this. I'm going to go to bed tonight. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to keep grinding and keep moving forward. And if I do my part, God's going to take care of the rest. And so there is a ownership that you have to take when you go through difficult seasons in business. You can't just like sit back and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm just going to go hands off now, and whatever happens, happens." It's okay. I'm going to let go of the anxiety and the fear, and the emotion of this situation, and I'm going to press in, and I'm going to push. And so for me, it's like, all right, I know that I've been able to grow this business. I know what I've been able to accomplish. And so I just decide in this difficult season, okay, I'm just going to pick up and I'm going to just keep driving forward. And I'll get to the other side of this challenge. And so you sit down and you say, okay, well, what do I need to do today? What do I need to do to drive things forward? What could I do today to get more business in? What can I do today? How can I get creative? There's not like one way to handle a challenging season. I spent I it's funny, as entrepreneurs, we really don't ever stop working. But from from about 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock today, I was up and I'm literally just running through like, okay, I can send this crew here and I can, move these funds here and I can do this and I can do that. And putting together the solutions. I'm not just sitting back and letting whatever happens happen. Um, but you have to come at it, use strategy, get creative. That's why you're an entrepreneur. You're going to adapt to the situation and you're going to find a way to make it work. That's what we do. We face challenges, but we find a way to make it work. And it's tough. Like, nobody wants to go through challenges. Nobody wants to face the hard days. But that's just the reality. They're going to happen. And I think over time you learn how to handle it better. There was a season where, like, the challenges that I'm facing this week, I might have like not slept at all. I might have like been pacing, but um it's I've learned how to have more peace in the midst of the challenges that are going on. I've learned how to let go and pray. And you know I'll talk to my wife about it and I'll say, "Hey babe, this is what's going on. Can you be praying about this?" And I can't tell you how many times I've asked my wife to pray about something, and it's like things just start happening. and things work themselves out. So um, yeah, I think this also, it can relate to finances. It can relate to employees. If you have a situation with an employee, what I've tried to do over time is realize that my employees are imperfect people. They are going to have bad days. They are going to have things that they go through in their personal life. They're going to do things that are stupid, dumb, don't make sense. But hey, guess what? I do the same thing. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I am sometimes, or, really ultimately, I'm the owner of this business. So when things are bad, it's my fault. And so the way that I try to think about things is like, if somebody has overall a good track record with me in the business, they have a good attitude, they show up, they do their job, and they do it well when they are there, and customers are happy with them and all of those things. I can see past mistakes, and sometimes in the midst of like those things that come up, mistakes happen, or they make dumb decisions, and they affect you, or they affect the business, or they affect the customer. Emotionally, you might want to respond and be like, hey, you're out of here, right? But I have found that having grace in the midst of those challenging times, trying to be empathetic towards my employees when I don't want to be, when I'd rather just be like, just get out of here. I'm done with you. Um, I've learned how to stop, take the emotion out of it, um, give people the benefit of the doubt, like think of my own life. Like like one thing that comes up, somebody might you might have a situation where a employee calls out, and it seems like it's like this just crazy circumstance, and then it happens like two times in a row or whatever. It's like um over the top, and you're like, there's no way this can be real. Like there's no way they're facing this much all at once. And then what I'll do is I'll think back in my own life, and I'll be like, man, remember that time I was supposed to be at a customer's house to provide an estimate? I got a call from daycare saying I had to come pick up my son because he was sick. That distracted me. I went straight to the daycare, picked my son up, completely forgot to go to the estimate. Get a call from the customer a few hours later. Hey, like, what's up? You never called. Nobody's here. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, I completely forgot. And then I have to give an explanation like, hey, I'm so sorry. I got a call from the daycare. My son was sick. They had told me I had to come get him, and I had to have it picked up, as soon as possible, whatever the situation is. Maybe take him to the doctor if I had to. But anyway, it's just that I think back into my own life, and I'm like, hey, in those moments, how do I want to be treated? Do I want that customer to say, oh, well, you must be unreliable, no second chances, we're never going to hire you, thanks, but see you later, bye, and lose that opportunity? No, I would want some understanding. Like, hey, I made a mistake, but it was very real. Like, my son is sick. I need to go get him. Um, and that can just kind of like throw you off, right? And so I try to do the same things for my employees. If they reach out to me and they say, hey, boss, this is going on, and then it's like, oh, I need another day off, and this, it's like, okay, be real, be empathetic, treat them as if they are a human being. um, and the reality is like life is it's different for all of us. Life has seasons for each one of us. Some that are just absolute chaos and crazy stuff happening, and sometimes it's smooth sailing. And as that happens for us, it happens to our employees too. And sometimes it falls in sync with a challenging time for us, which makes it feel more intense, or maybe it just happens at a super inconvenient time. But the reality is that their lives are not going to be convenient for us, and vice versa. Like, that's just the reality. And I think approaching things with empathy and kindness can go a long way in how we treat our employees and how we handle those situations. Whereas, again, going back to it, like, if we just are driven by the emotion, we might face those situations, have no empathy, no kindness, and just start firing people. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, I can't keep a team, or I can't keep employees. And well, maybe it's you. Maybe it's that you're really hard to work with. Maybe it's that you lack empathy. Maybe it's that you lack understanding and kindness. Maybe it's that you think that the way up is just to be, absolutely hard on everybody all the time. Maybe you think that the only way to produce quality work and to have happy customers is just to be like a slave driver. And what I found is that's not true. As I treat my employees with dignity, with respect, with empathy, with kindness, yes, it's not always convenient for me. Yes, it's painful sometimes. And yes, sometimes I feel like I get the short end of the stick. But I've got great people that work for me. Um, they're making our customers happy. They're putting out a great product and a great service, and we have an incredible reputation. And so, how much more can I ask for? Like, what I tell them is, like, the two things that I care about more than anything is that we get the job done and that the customer is happy. And there's going to be mistakes made along the way. There's going to be areas where we all fail. But if we can accomplish those two things, um, I can deal with the rest. And so, the whole purpose of this podcast is, like, to get off the ladder and to grow a business. Well, I firmly believe that in order to do that, you have to be able to empathize with people. You have to be able to, um, you know, understand people's lives in, like, a grander um, view. And, I guess it comes down to, too, how you want to lead your business. I mean, I'm sure there's companies that are very successful that lead in a completely different way. That's just not my style. But you can accomplish it being empathetic and being kind. So I mean, those are two really big areas. The financial piece, the employee piece. Um, but I'll say this too: sales. That can be an emotional process, and the reality is like, if you want to get off the ladder and you want to work on your business and not in it, you have to detach from the emotion of sales a lot of times. And what I mean by that is, it's you have to be able to raise your prices if you want to get off the ladder, because you have to be able to hire other people, which costs more money. And you have to be able to cover those expenses of the labor. And you can't do that selling at the same price that you have for years, maybe. And you have to be able to detach from the emotion of thinking, like, oh man, like, I can't charge that much, or it doesn't feel fair to the customer. It has nothing to do with fair or not. It would be unfair to hire people and not pay them well. It would be unfair to hire people and not be able to do the things that you should for them, like, just something as simple as, like, carrying workers comp and insurance. um it's just it's doing those things. And you've got to look at both sides. Like, yes, I want to treat my customer fair, but I also want to treat my employees fair. And I want to grow a business that can thrive and offer a great product and service. And so you have to be able to, come in with a number that might feel like, oh, wow, I don't know if that's too much. And you have to be able to be confident in the fact, like, okay, I'm charging this because I have to. I want to pay my people fairly. I want to cover my expenses and I want to be profitable and I want to be able to honor what we do as a business. And so, um, that's part of it too, is the sales. And it's definitely a tough thing. I would say that's one of the more challenging things, is like to not let what you're going through currently um drive your sales decisions. And something that I've messed up a couple times even this year is selling jobs that weren't necessarily our um ideal job or ideal customer, making mistakes, having to pay for those mistakes, and doing that because it's like you want to get the money in, you want to get the sales in, you want to be able to cover payroll, you want to be able to pay for everything, you want to be able to grow your business. And so you're like, okay, I got to sell that job, I got to take it, I have to take this job. And then you think back and you're like, man, if I didn't take that job, I would have had time for these other jobs that I wanted, but now my schedule's full. And so you have to detach from the emotion and say, realistically, is this job going to be as profitable for me? Is it going to really do what I think it's going to? Or would I be better off saying, hey, that's not for me? I need to keep my schedule, our availability open for the jobs that are best for us to do and that are going to serve our customers best and our employees best. So that's another side of it too. And you can apply this principle to basically any area of your business. You can apply it to marketing. You can be emotional about investing in something, but if it doesn't work, if you're not getting a return on investment, it doesn't matter how much you want it to work, how much you believe in it, how passionate you are about it. If the data is not working out, if the numbers aren't telling you that this is working, then you have to be able to release from the emotion. Maybe that's, firing a marketing agency. Maybe that's, firing somebody who's doing some type of work for you. But you have to detach yourself from the emotion of that. It can apply to, like I said, production. It can apply to leadership, sales, just basically any area of your business. Try to detach from the emotion, let the data and the reality of things um, dictate how you're going to respond, and then just try to walk in wisdom and respond to those things with wisdom, not just emotion and feeling. And ultimately that applies to life in general. um, you know I can say that for me, one of the biggest areas that I had to grow in my life when I was younger was in criticism. And the ability to be criticized, to take on constructive criticism and not be offended by that constructive criticism, or somebody telling me, hey, don't do this, you need to do this. And being able to say, like, hey, like, I need to take their advice, and take the emotion out of it and walk in wisdom. Um, so it was yesterday. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was telling them, hey, like, this is a decision that I'm going to make. And they're like, hey, don't make that decision. If you don't have to, try to do it this way. And in the moment, I was like, no, I have to do it my way. But then, just in a time of um, stillness, silence, letting go of the emotion, I was like, okay, how can I actually listen to what this person is saying, and instead of just jumping to the conclusion that what they're saying isn't possible, how can I look at it from a different angle, have a different perspective, humble myself and say, okay, maybe what they're saying is best and I need to try and figure out another way to make this work. And so anyway, that's what I did. And I even told my wife this morning, I said, hey, here's, some different decisions I have to make. Um, these are all of my plans, and here's my contingencies, and my initial idea is going to be the last resort, right? Um, but it's just having that ability to step back and use wisdom opposed to emotion is ultimately what this whole episode is about. So, um, the Bible actually says that if a man lacks wisdom, if you ask God, He'll give it to you. So if you're feeling like you lack wisdom in a circumstances, pray, ask God to give you wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and He's faithful. He'll give you the wisdom as long as you're humble and you're willing to receive that wisdom, and to act on it. And you know, the word also says in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 that we need to trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not on our own understanding, but in all of our ways acknowledge Him, and He'll direct our paths. And so, again, it's like emotionally, you might want to lean on your own understanding. But if you can step out in faith, He'll direct your paths in a way of wisdom, which is beyond our understanding. So in Philippians chapter 4 says that if we lack peace, He gives us peace that surpasses all understanding. And so it's not about our understanding. It's not about what we can justify or rationalize. He gives us peace. He gives us wisdom. He gives us knowledge, understanding, discernment that surpasses our understanding. And so that's what we want to tap into. We don't want to like be driven by our emotions all the time. So anyway, with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. I'm excited about season 3. I'm excited about growing. I'm also tossing around the ideas of some different things that I'd like to do this year. Like I'd really like to maybe do some daily podcasts that are shorter, maybe 5-minute episodes, that are just like an encouragement. It's a lot of work. Those would probably be audio only and not audio video, and then maybe just the Wednesdays would be both. But anyway, just things that I'm tossing around. I've got conversations with partnerships that might be possible. And I'm looking forward to all the interviews that we'll do in season 3, and just excited to continue to grow the Off the Ladder podcast and all the opportunities that will come with it in this season. So thank you so much for tuning into the Off the Ladder podcast. As always, if you are listening on YouTube, please like this video, comment down below, share it with somebody, and ultimately subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate your support. If you're listening on any major podcast platform, please rate and review this show so that it can reach more people. And I'll leave you with this. Please follow me on social media. I'm active on Facebook, Instagram, and my YouTube channel. And you can also email me, reach out through the fan mail on here. But I'd love to hear from you. I'd love for you to connect. Let me know maybe feedback that you have about the podcast, maybe guests that you'd like to see on here. Anything that would help to make this better for you and the audience, and to help you learn and grow in your business. Well, I'll bring this to close. Thank you so much for tuning into the Off the Ladder podcast, and I'll see you next time on the next episode.